Hello, this is Sherri Gallagher with Technacon Company Incorporated, and this presentation is on ISO 9001 2015 edition, and it's on Section 6, Planning. Now, what is planning? When I send out an audit plan for ISO 9001 2015 and designate planning on the schedule, so what I'm doing is setting up, here's the time frames of when I'd like to do things, and here's how long they should take. Frequently what happens, the client assigns the production planner to be interviewed in the planning section. So rather than make a big deal about it, I ask the planner questions on Section 8 of the standard, Operations, and save the questions for Section 6, Planning, for top management. In ISO 9001 2015, Section 6, Planning, is strategic planning, not production planning. It makes sense that strategic planning should follow leadership. Section 6, Planning, has three major sections: actions to address risk, quality objectives and planning to achieve them, planning for change. Now, the first element ISO 9001 2015 is expecting top management to address in planning is to decide how much risk is acceptable before actions are taken. This section of the standard refers back to Section 4.1 and 4.2, which is context of the organization, internal and external issues, and interested parties. Technacon has already put up videos on those subjects, which gave guidance on identifying internal and external issues and interested parties and defining how they are monitored. What happens now in Section 6 of the standard is they want the top management to take risk one step further and consider all the impacts of the risk and decide when or even if action will be taken to mitigate the risk. Now, the standard gives top management guidance for when to take action. The first one is give assurance the quality management system can achieve its intended results. So is the customer going to get what they're expecting? If they are, then it's your choice whether or not you mitigate the risk. But if a risk can cause non-conforming product or service, top management should consider mitigating action. And then the second guidance is they should take action to address risk to prevent or reduce undesirable effects. Hey folks, nonconformances, right? Many companies will use failure mode and effect analysis, FMEAs, to determine when to take action to prevent or reduce undesirable effects. Now, some consultants don't like this because they say it only addresses risk and it doesn't address opportunity. But you can do opportunity a couple of ways. You can make up a second chart using FMEA for opportunity, and then you're going to build on that. Or you can use mitigating risk to create opportunity. Let me go through this real quick, and then we'll talk about that a little more. There was a great example I saw at a client. Absolutely wonderful. Best practice. So top management uses their knowledge when they're doing the FMEA to list potential risks. They should know what they are if they're top management. They then have to rate the potential risks for how likely they are to occur. The severity of the risk is then rated. So if it does occur, how bad is the result? And then the likelihood the risk will be detected and prevented from impacting the customer. So you've got three numbers. These three ratings are multiplied and the resulting number is compared to a range top management has defined. Below a certain number, defined by top management, no action will be taken. Management considers that an acceptable risk. At or above the number, action must be taken. This is the level of risk deemed unacceptable, and the action taken is proportional to the potential impact. Now, the standard doesn't say at number such and such, you will take action, because it's going to depend on the company and how they view what the risks are. It varies from company to company. Now, there are a lot of good FMEA templates out on the internet. I'm not going to put one up here. They're free. If you want to try using this tool, I recommend you download one of them. They're very straightforward and very simple. Or you can contact me at my email that I have at the end of this presentation, and I'll give you a hand getting through it. Now, the other piece of risk is opportunity. And the guidance that top management receives from the standard is they are expected to enhance desirable effects. Now, here's this client with a best practice. They looked at their risks and they realized every single one of their competitors had the same risks. Now, by addressing the risks, they were able to create opportunities by either lowering price and or improving delivery, or by using the eliminated risk as a marketing tool. So by turning the risk into an opportunity, they generated significant growth. I mean, I'm talking like 25% increase in sales growth. So that's a way you can look at your risk and use it to create opportunity. Now, the last thing that is required of top management when they're looking at risk is that they have to achieve improvement. Now, how does that relate to risk? Well, remember, if you eliminate or reduce risk or create an opportunity, you've created improvement. Ta-da! When top management identifies actions to address risk and opportunity, the actions must be integrated into the quality management system. They can't be some standalone thing that goes on the side. And I'm drawing a blank on trying to give you a good example. Top management must also look at the actions to address risk, make sure they're implemented and evaluated for effectiveness. Did it work? Kind of nice to know. I did have to write up one company, I did have to write a finding on them. They had identified their risks, they had identified the point at which action had to be taken, they had evaluated their risks. There were several risks that fell into their company-defined range of requiring action. The problem was they never took any action. Oops. So don't make that mistake, all right? So look at your ranges, define what's right for your company, and if you have risks that fall into the range that you feel you need to take action, remember you need to put together a plan and you need to incorporate it into the quality management system. So what's the second section of Section 6? That's hard to say. Well, that's quality objectives and planning to achieve them. So in the leadership video presentation, the quality policy provided the framework for the quality objectives. So it makes sense when you get to planning that the quality objectives shall be consistent with a quality policy. Duh. Now, in planning, top management is directed to establish quality objectives at all functional levels and processes. Now, this doesn't mean the organization must develop a large number of quality objectives, but rather make sure everyone in the company knows how they impact the quality objectives. So here's an example to help you understand. Suppose a quality objective is to reduce lead times by 1 day. Order entry may help in this by having an objective to reduce the time to enter orders from 6 hours to 4 hours. Procurement may have an objective to reduce sourcing time from 5 days to 3. Production may have an objective to throughput all orders in 2 business days instead of 3. Shipping may have an objective to ship all completed orders within 4 hours. There's still one major objective, reduce the lead time by a day. And every department, which is the relevant functional levels, understands and has an objective to help accomplish the overall quality objective. Now, when auditing, this is one of the questions that will get asked of people. How do you contribute to the company quality objectives? Now, of course, quality objectives must be in line with a quality policy. I already talked about that. If the quality policy directs the company perception to be the lowest cost provider, an objective to reduce production tolerances to increase accuracy doesn't fit unless it reduces nonconformances and thus reduces waste, which would help to reduce costs. So I hope you understand the link there. Quality objectives must also be measurable. So if the quality objective is to improve delivery time or 0 defects, that does not meet the requirements of the standard. Well, 0 defects probably would. Improve delivery time by 1 day, improve defects from 99.99996% to 100% non-conforming product, not non-conforming product, okay, then those are measurable and meet the standard. Now, as was discussed in leadership, the quality policy and the quality objectives must take into account applicable requirements. So if your customer requires traceability back to the individual supplier, and you can reduce costs by reducing waste by combining the tail end of lots of raw material from different suppliers, but you lose traceability, that's not an acceptable objective because you're not meeting the requirements of the customer. Quality objectives should increase customer satisfaction and be relevant to conformity. So while the company may have a goal of increased profitability, profitability does not really talk about improved performance. It does not talk about customer satisfaction. So this is where there is a slight disconnect of looking at business. Every business has the right to make a profit. But the way to make a profit is to reduce nonconformances, reduce waste, and thus reduce cost. Another whole subject. Go read Deming. Go read Duran. Go read Crosby. Back to quality objectives. Quality objectives should be monitored. Everyone should know how the company is doing at accomplishing the quality objectives. Progress should be communicated. If necessary, an objective should also be updated as appropriate. If an action is taken to reduce nonconformances by 3%, but after implementing the action, it only accomplishes a 2% reduction, then either new actions have to be defined, or if the resources aren't available to create that additional 1% reduction in nonconformances, the objective needs to be revised. Make sense? Quality objectives will be maintained as documented information. Now, what's documented information? That's a whole new term with ISO 9001:2015. In all previous versions, there were documents, which included procedures, work instructions, forms, and then there were records. Because there are electronic records, because sometimes things are videos, documented information was used as a catch-all phrase for all of this information. Now, documented information is discussed in Section 7 of ISO 9001:2015, which is support. And when we do the presentation on that, we'll clarify documented information. Moving on. When we get to the final discussion of what top management must accomplish when they're looking at quality objectives, is they must make sure action is taken to accomplish quality objectives as defined. They have to assign resources to accomplish the objective. They can't just say, go do this, and not give people the tools to make it happen. They have to assign a person responsible for managing the plan to accomplish the quality objective. You know, you got to have somebody to drive the boat. And they have to have a defined time frame. So if your quality objective is to reduce delivery time by 1 day, then you have to define, will that be in the next 6 months that you're going to accomplish that? In the next year, were they going to accomplish that? In the next 3 years, are you going to accomplish that? There has to be a time frame. It can't be, well, someday we'll get there, guys. It has to include a completion date, and then it has to also define how the results will be evaluated to determine if the objective was accomplished. Because how can this whole team work on and accomplish objectives if they don't know how they're going to be measured. So that's talking about quality objectives. So the third section of Section 6, we're getting kind of down there, aren't we, is planning of changes. Change is a given. People are promoted or retired or move on. Facilities no longer accommodate the business size. Equipment no longer holds tolerances, or customers' tolerances change. All of this is change. All of this is going to come to a company over time. Top management is charged with addressing changes and making sure the customer is not negatively impacted by changes in the organization. Top management must identify a plan to keep the quality management system in place and effective throughout the change period. So for example, if production is moving into a new building, top management must ensure deliveries still go out with the same time frame. They're not delayed. They're not interrupted. They must ensure that non-conforming product does not reach the customer. They must ensure that if customer service is in the same building, customers can call them and reach them, and the telephone system will work. There'll be no interruption. Top management must plan how changes happen, not just let them happen and go, oh my goodness, look what that did to us. Sorry, folks, we didn't mean to ship you 3 shipments of bad product. So, I'm getting off here. In conclusion, ISO 9001-2015 Section 6 planning can be considered strategic planning through the addressing of risks and opportunities, developing quality objectives, and guiding the company through changes while protecting the customer. It's pretty straightforward, folks. I know you can do this. If you have any questions, you can reach me at my email address, technacon1986@sbcglobal.net, or you can call me, or you can look us up on the website, technacon.com. Thanks. Have a great day.